All right, Jacqueline, thank you. As you're starting your Sunday, we want to catch you up on 3 things you need to know about the impacts of COVID-19.
Now we'll start with a deadline for some class of 2020 seniors graduating during this unprecedented time. Today is the last day for CMS seniors to finish a survey on how they think the district should celebrate graduation. Seniors have 3 options to choose from when they vote, and we'll break those down in just a few minutes. And we know how important tracing and detecting COVID-19 is to stop the spread of the virus. Well, now there's a new test that could help. The FDA just gave emergency approval to an antigen test. It looks for active virus cells, while current tests look for genetic material from the virus. The FDA says that the antigen test is cheaper and easier to use, but it may be less reliable.
And for a lot of us, religion is keeping many of us grounded during this challenging time, even though worship services have gone through radical changes. But this morning, they can move a little bit closer to normal and bring us a little more peace. Places of worship in North Carolina are now allowed to have outdoor services as part of phase 1 of the state's reopening. People can either stay in their cars for a drive-in style service or get out, as long as they practice social distancing. That means staying 6 feet apart and wearing masks. Now, places of worship won't be able to let people inside until phase 2, and that won't happen until at least the 22nd. And even then, it'll only be at 50% capacity. St. Gabriel Catholic Church in Myers Park will have communion services outside today. We stopped by yesterday and Father Richard Sutter was giving drive-up confessionals. The church has done that since the pandemic started.
It has been nonstop, where cars are just constantly coming. People have been extremely receptive, happy, and you can see the peace and joy on their face as they depart.
St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dilworth will also have outdoor mass today.
How soon indoor worship services can happen again will partly depend on whether there's a spike in COVID-19 cases. In North Carolina, cases have been fairly consistent over the last few days. The state reported about 500 new cases yesterday. There have been more than 14,000 total. Out of those, 544 people didn't survive. South Carolina is at more than 7,500 cases and 330 deaths. The state reported 10 new deaths yesterday. There's a new national trend a lot of parents are worrying about, a mysterious illness in children that may be linked to COVID-19. And it can cause inflammation of blood vessels, which can lead to life-threatening heart problems. Yesterday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said that it's killed 3 children in his state and affected dozens more.
These children happen to have the COVID antibodies or be positive for COVID, but those were not the symptoms they showed when they came in to the hospital system.
There are cases in other countries too, and even though COVID is a common thread, doctors say they're not sure exactly what is causing it.
Well, starting this week, Atrium Health is offering businesses a way to know which employees are better protected against COVID-19. Antibody tests will tell if someone had the virus, got over it, and is no longer infectious. That kind of information could go a long way in helping businesses determine which employees are probably immune. Again, this is mainly for businesses right now, but anyone who suspects they could have COVID-19 can also get tested. Last week, Novant started offering antibody tests at 17 of its Charlotte urgent care and Go Health locations. Go Health says the accuracy is 90% or better, and it takes 1 to 3 days for results. You can get tested unless you've recently tested positive for COVID-19, have been in contact with someone who tested positive, shown symptoms, or had a fever over 100.5. Well, high school seniors aren't getting a traditional send-off this year, but Governor Roy Cooper is giving them a virtual message of appreciation and of pride.
He said on Twitter he is impressed with the class of 2020, and he knows how disappointed that they won't walk across the stage to get their diplomas, but said yesterday that he wants them to walk away from all of this looking up.
But don't let this crisis crush your dreams. You're resilient, you're ready, and your state needs you to do great things.
And that is an encouraging message there. School districts are trying to find creative ways to honor the class of 2020. Today is the deadline for CMS seniors to decide on their graduation ceremony. The district sent seniors a survey with 3 options for graduation. Each option involves a pre-recorded virtual ceremony with the usual speeches and reading graduates' names, but here's how they're different. Option A would be a drive-through celebration, and students would pick up their diplomas at school. For option B, students would not pick their diplomas up. The district would mail them out. Option C, diplomas would still be mailed, but there would also be a celebration at school when it's safe. The superintendent will read over the students' responses and look at recommendations from the graduation task force, then decide. Cabarrus County will be doing a drive-in style graduation at the Charlotte Motor Speedway next month. How about that? Grads and their families will drive onto the infield and watch the ceremony. Then they'll drive to the start-finish line to get their diplomas. Talk about racing toward the end there. Starting tomorrow, North Carolina daycares can re-enroll some children under phase 1, but it's not for everyone. The state health department lists the criteria, which includes children with parents who are back at work or looking for work, anyone who's receiving welfare, or if someone is homeless. Child care centers will also have to be more strict with cleaning and drop off and pickup. Workers don't have to wear masks, but it is recommended.
A big change starts tomorrow for most people who fly out of Charlotte Douglas Airport. Anyone flying American Airlines will have to wear a mask. The airline said it would try to provide masks for people who don't have one, but it's best that you take one with you. Employees have had to wear masks since the start of the month. And at Charlotte Douglas, they're having their temperature checked every day before they start work. If an employee's temperature is high, they're immediately tested 2 more times to check for accuracy. They'll then be sent home with pay. A Tyson Foods plant here in North Carolina is closed for the next 48 hours as teams get inside to deep clean. This all follows a coronavirus outbreak. The Wilkes County Health Department screened 200 Tyson employees for the virus outside of the plant yesterday. Now, this plant is linked to the majority of cases in the county. Health department officials aren't saying how many employees have tested positive for COVID-19. Tyson reps say, though, that dozens have already recovered.
These people are being quarantined at home. We have only 5 cases in the hospital and 40 have recovered.
Tyson employees will be allowed to return to work on Tuesday. A mobile health clinic will be set up outside of the plant later this week for workers to continue to get tested.
Samaritan's Purse could be in line for millions of dollars in funding, but Reverend Franklin Graham says that they're not interested. Last month, President Trump cut off hundreds of millions of dollars in annual payments to the World Health Organization. The New York Post reports Samaritan's Purse is being considered to receive some of those funds. This past week, Graham toured the organization's field hospital in New York City and Central Park, and he explained why it would be a bad idea to take that money.
It'd be too much of a controversy if they gave Samaritan's Purse a penny, and it's just not worth it. God provides what we need, and all of this right here is just, every penny of this has come from God.
The field hospital will treat patients for about another week before Samaritan's Purse returns to Boone.
Well, the Biltmore is starting to test the waters and slowly allow guests back onto the property. The estate reopened its park areas yesterday, but only to their annual pass holders who live in western North Carolina. The Biltmore House will remain closed until more restrictions are lifted. The Village Hotel on Biltmore's property has started to take reservations from essential travelers and local residents only. As beaches across South Carolina reopen, some beach residents are worried about how out-of-state visitors could risk their community's health. Right now, DHEC doesn't report how many visitors test positive. If an out-of-state visitor tests positive in South Carolina, that case would only count toward their home state's total. Some residents are now asking South Carolina to report those cases, even if they're not included in the state's official tally.
If they're from Alaska, you know, even if they have to have a different system to say, okay, you know, this person isn't necessarily counted as a South Carolina case because they were here from Alaska.
DHEC officials say if a patient is from somewhere else, their contact tracers communicate with their home state.